Hey everyone, today we're going to be talking about happiness, and I'm going to be giving you some advice on building a stronger foundation for long term happiness. So, what's the advice today? Well, basically, it is form different and many foundational pillars from which you can reap happiness from. Make sure first off that you have more than one pillar, and second off, make sure that these pillars are not built off of something that is weak. So, weak things may be materialistic things, drugs, alcohol, money, potentially getting laid with women. So, putting these aside, having these strong foundational elements can help. Now, again, some of these things I just mentioned, materialistic, although they can be weak things, they can be icing on the cake sometimes. Hey, it may be good to have females in your life if you have none, but make sure, most importantly, you do not build your foundation on just one form of happiness, and you try at the very least to have at least one, maybe even two, if not more, forms of foundational levels of happiness where you can draw from. And so it's all this like mushy, gushy stuff that you don't really understand. Like, what the heck are you trying to say? Basically, I'll give you a great example. I learned this from this book, Before Happiness. If you map out your time span of what makes you happy and what makes you unhappy on a day to day basis, on a monthly and then yearly basis, and you find that your happiness is completely based off one specific thing, then this may be a reason to start changing or looking for other stuff because, again, especially if the thing is not very stable or it has its ups and downs, then your life may be a complete roller coaster. So in the book, it used many examples of people who had these problems. This one man based all his happiness on stocks and the stock market. Another man based all his happiness on sports teams. And another man, his whole happiness had to do with, um, I think it was women and how he was doing well with women or not. And so when they were asked to map out these time spans and at this time in their life, were they happy or unhappy and why was that so? After mapping it out, it seemed, at least to them and the experimenters, that their happiness was based off one thing. And so for these types of people, the clear problem is that you need to derive other foundational levels of happiness, whether they be faith or work or community or hobbies or a higher purpose, higher calling, your occupation, working towards something, advancing along the ladder, learning more, networking, whatever it is that brings more fulfillment. It could be friends and community and so forth. Having these things, I do think, will bring a stronger foundational level of happiness where it acts as almost a safety net of different things so that the lows or the potential obstacles you come across, the pits of the roller coaster ride don't seem as bad because when you take those hits, whether it is a relationship gone poor or a tough time in your life where you are not getting the uh, what you want or what you think you can in terms of your dating life or your occupation, or you're just in this very tough rut in life by chance or by just wherever you are, these foundational things hold you down. In addition to that, it can be very, very helpful because oftentimes many of these people, they're focused on one specific thing only, whether it's the stock market or their life is composed mainly of just whatever it is, their dating life. And so for these types of people, it's very important to have stronger foundations so the highs don't seem as high, and the lows don't seem so low because you're comparing it to the highs. And unfortunately, especially if you're basing a lot of your happiness on this one thing, then it's a huge problem. And especially if it's something that is prone to these roller coasters, again, I do think deriving a lot of happiness just from um, the opposite gender, females, or if you're a female viewer, males, and if a relationship goes well or doesn't, it can be horrendous, especially because many relationships go sour, and oftentimes all of them do until you find someone you really want to spend the rest of your life with. Or, occasionally I do think it's also possible you can break off in very diplomatic, formal terms. But again, it can be a lot of other stuff. Perhaps you're in a situation where um, you are just very distraught about your dating life for whatever reason, or you're just so hung up on people, or um, it's not where you want to be, and you finally get someone that you think likes you, and then something goes wrong, and all of a sudden you just feel so devastated because again you thought, okay, oh my goodness, I finally got it, and then boom, something happens. Whatever the reason is, maybe you were too clingy or needy, or perhaps they just weren't interested, and now it's gone. And because your whole sphere or a large portion of it is based on this happiness alone, you're going to be devastated, and you don't have a lot of safety nets or other forms of happiness to come across. And I do think this is one of the big problems. Many people, not all of them, but many people, especially in this digital age where everyone's just oftentimes uh, more isolated and on the computer or watching TV, if you're not building other foundational things, and a lot of people don't have other foundational forms of happiness, they just naturally didn't fall into them, and even if they make an effort, it's tough for them to form. Others, it just comes very naturally, and for some of these others, it's just like it doesn't even make sense for them, because for them it just comes so naturally, so they can't even perceive why it's so hard for others. But it is. And so long story short, that's one of the things you have to start developing. If you are noticing that you're one of those people that um, it's all based on one thing, then you have to start building other atmospheres and working on that. And also, I do think, especially if you're basing a lot of your happiness on one of these things that's just chaotic or sporadic or prone to change, or a lot of it's out of your control. I mean, I wouldn't say everything's out of your control. You do have a certain level of control, but basing too much of this on this is a horrible thing to do. But that's all I gotta say. Again, check out the book Before Happiness. It may do a better explanation of explaining what I just said. And that's all I really want to say. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in my next video.